big mechs, big guns, big super freaking hard. So I should know how long the tutorial is for this game. It took me about 20 minutes to go through, and there's never another tutorial unless you go to the settings. So before we go into Armored Code 4, this is all the lore I know. We are mercenary from Anatolia, which is a colony. Yep, that's it. We good? The first thing you have to do in the game is go to an abandoned city to take out what the game calls normals. So what a normal is, it's a humanized mech. I should note that our player is what they call a next, which is essentially connected to your brain in a more expensive mech that uses this thing called Kojima particles. Yeah, Kojima particles, which causes a lot of radiation and is super bad for the environment. After struggling with the controls for a second, it's not terribly hard and you learn how to play the game with actual experience. So you want to guess what kind of missions we got here in Chapter 2? Well, I'll tell you. We got to protect buildings from 3 bajillion missiles, kill everything that moves in 2 rooms, avoid mines to get to the end, fall down 10 miles from the sky dodging lasers. That's only half the missions in Chapter 2. This game does not mess around. So I think I should fill you in on how missions work. You know, at the end of the stage, it gives you a log of how much damage you expected it to take, how much ammo they expect you to use, and how much time they expected it to take. If you exceed any of these, they'll deduct money from your reward money, and if you exceed your reward limit, they kind of just ask if you want to restart the stage or else you'll be losing money. Yeah, it happens. It happens. I'll skip some of the missions for now and bring us to the final mission of the chapter. Desert Wolf. This mission is a fight between you and the enemy known as Amaji. The mission briefing tells you he's on a completely different level than you, and you'll have to ambush him to stand a chance. When he comes in, you just unload on him, and he'll get out of his train and start fighting back, and boy does he move fast. If your target lock isn't fast enough, he can evade basically anything and everything, causing a death from me. However, upon challenging the mission again, if you simply listen to what the game told you to unload on him, this is so trivial. If you just unload on him in the right spot, he was almost dead by the time he came out of his Thomas the Train. It was satisfying, yet kind of sad to see him go down like that, to be honest. Move on to the next chapter, being Chapter 3. Why does every game in existence have a bridge map? I will never be free from them. The first mission may not seem hard. Just shoot down all the big helicopters before they reach the end of the area. This is the point where I learned to be precise with dodging can be super hard, because each part you use will dictate how far you move either left, right, up, down, or back forward. Anytime you put in a new part, it can alter these. And this means I would fall off the bridge occasionally. And after you kill all of those, there's a train transport that comes in and attempts to speed past you. If you don't kill it by the time it gets to the tunnel, that's a game over, bud. Yeah, I died a couple times. We don't talk about it. One thing that's really hard in this game is hovering out of the water. Most people seem to have no problems with it, aka Max didn't have any problem with it, but on the ice map, it was the bane of my existence. It's not that the map was hard. The map wants you to protect a ship and kill submarines that are shooting missiles at it, and you can shoot down the missiles pretty easy with a machine gun, and then destroy the subs with a beam sword, but getting in and out of the water with ice that breaks easy and prevents you from going up made it annoying, but really not that bad. One of my favorite maps in the game has to be Barbie Blue. This map is to defend 3 different points with enemies spawning in. You have to rush up and down hallways, keeping enemies from getting into the hangars. It's a really simple map, but it keeps you moving the whole time and managing the map, which makes it a really nice and entertaining map. Then here we are, a hard map, Retaliation. And you can't do any other mission than this. You were stuck doing this. Because this one is an invasion on Anatolia. They suddenly come out of nowhere, and you don't want to engage your primal armor because you don't want to, contaminate the entire colony you live in. So I should explain what primal armor is. It's the bar at the top that keeps you from taking big damage. It's essentially a shield that keeps you from taking too much damage, but you'll still take damage through it. This stage has some normal enemies, but then there are the tanks. If you get hit by the tanks, well then our 35k HP, I was taking 10k from each hit. I died to these tanks way too many times than I want to, but when you take down the tanks finally, there are missile launchers that can be hard to dodge if you don't upgrade your boosts. They also do a lot of damage. We finally managed to do it, however, I then had to redo it because, like I mentioned earlier, I lost money. I don't have enough money to cover that. And I was going to go negative in total money, meaning that's an actual game over soft luck. But once you learn how to dodge the tanks and kiting them around the ledge, you can save a ton of HP and get the missiles. Now here's a map that took even longer than Retaliation. This map features 4 submarines and 1 big ship with a massive laser cannon. The subs will all shoot missiles which will eat through your primal armor, and once that's gone, almost anything will kill you. This is the stage where you learn your primal armor can regenerate too. It just took at least on that stage, about 18 seconds. You can change this in different parts, then it'll regenerate faster, but for my build, it took 18 seconds for it to recharge and be used again. So remember how I talked about taking out a big ship? Well, here's the laser. I got hit once. If you couldn't tell, this is around the part in the game when it started to get really difficult for me and these stages were making me reset a couple times before I could actually beat them. And then a revelation was made. So before we started the game, Max asked me if I wanted to play normal mode or hard mode. I said hard mode, just, you know, be the gamer. And then he told me it would be masochistic, so we went with normal. But it turns out, to get everything in the game, you need to beat them on hard as well. And that's a little button that you pressed and then switch to hard. And it turns out you can't actually start on hard from the beginning. You just have to press the button to be able to do them. So to reiterate that, we're doing every mission twice. Woo! So here's some of the normal maps and their differences with hards. Remember Amaji? Well, it turns out he knew you were coming this time. You can't kill 90% of his HP before he gets in the air, but at this point I could 3-tap him thanks to laser beams, and it wasn't too much of an issue. But in addition to him knowing you're coming, there's another next called the White Glint that shows up. But he also dies in 3 hits, so it's really not that much of an issue. Remember that submarine map I struggled on? Well, what if I told you there were 3 more that spawn behind you and they're even more missiles? Well, yeah. That's what it is. That's what they are. And then after all this, before we move into chapter 4, a big war breaks out, and our mercenary is considered to be as strong as an original. You might be asking what an original is, and honestly, I didn't have an answer. But now that I am an expert at asking Max things, an original is the first people that ever piloted an armored core in the First War. Now you might be wondering what the Lynx War is, and that's just where armored core pilots fought, because a Lynx is essentially just an armored core, and they call it a Lynx instead of an armored core. Yeah. So at this point, we're with GA trying to stop other companies from starting a war. The Sea of Blood, where we get to take down an original. However, he's a pushover, on normal at least. On hard though, it's just like Amaji and the White Glint shows up midway through the fight. But this wouldn't be as difficult if it wasn't for the ads. The ads can deal so much damage when you initially spawn in, it's more worth it to fight the other normals before taking on the other 2. Because in the end, you can just kite them around the edge, and you only have to win once, no matter how many times you lose. Remember that last mission where we just fought 2 necks at once? Well, how about we take on 3? And you'd think this would be an issue, but it turns out they only have beam swords, meaning you can just kind of like keep moving and they will never hit you. A required mission for this chapter is Queen's Lance. Now this mission is a long piece of ocean where you have to destroy the white ship at the end. It can be pretty challenging if you're not the best at dodging like me, because all of these missiles will just come down on you, and even if you have flares, you will definitely run out of them. When you get to that Queen's Lance, you can just kill it really fast and immediately. But on hard mode, they have an extra mechanic. See, instead, the ship will try to leave the combat area, which means you have to get there fast, because if you don't hit that time limit, it'll just end. Well, I assume it would, but I only had to do hard mode once. I killed it before he got away, so I got good. And the final mission of chapter 4 is an absolute banger. So you're stuck in a narrow hallway, and there's a train coming straight at you. You need to keep backing up and moving and kill it before it reaches Antolia. This is very much just a DPS check, but I still find the concept of like being a final mission and being almost run over by a train, it's way too funny for not, I don't know, it's just super funny, right? And honestly, this chapter has the hardest missions, and you might be like, well, it didn't seem that bad, but I have been walled by 3 of these missions on hard that I did not beat till I beat the game. So we're not going to talk about them until I beat them in that order. But moving on to chapter 5, it's full of way easier missions than those came prior. Well, I mean, most of them. We have some simple ones where you take down big generators, searching for enemies in a snowfield, and fighting a next that has the best intro ever. Oh shit, boy. Oh, and they also have the Moonlight Greatsword that's in like every Miyazaki game, like Dark Souls, which we get and is insanely important. So remember the 1-on-1 next fights? Where we get to do a 3-on-4 next fight with 2 NPCs on our side. This is the only time that an NPC will come help your side, so it's so jarring. Those NPCs are so nice because they'll draw aggro, so then you can just shoot them. But hey, hard mode? Oh, that's 4-on-1. As soon as you get in, the operator sees 4-on-1 and tells you to get out of there, but her superior, which is her dad, by the way, says, they're tired, you got this. And he gives us a lollipop and sends us to our death. I brought out my tank build and just kind of tried to kill one of them at a time by ramming my head into the wall, which was getting some success. And then I was recommended to not, but I kind of kept just doing that till I won. The mission Soul Dios is a co-op mission with Joshua, the White Glint. You know that guy that randomly showed up in that fight? Each of us are tasked with taking out these huge tanks tanks with laser beams on the back. Oh, and energy weapons will do absolutely nothing as I hit it 10 times with double Moonlight Greatswords. However, if you use a grenade launcher, this mission is a cakewalk. Even on hard mode where Joshua gets damaged and doesn't do anything, it's still not hard. The final mission of Chapter 5 is taking out the company headquarters Exaville. So I know what you're thinking. This looks like the Sydney Opera House, and frankly, I agree. This mission is pretty easy considering you just have to take out all the pillars and then move away before it crushes you, but like with that, the war should be over. So before we go into the final chapter, I'm gonna talk about the hell that was Chapter 4 and 5 hard mode. Operation Firefly. Normally you just have to go to the dark and get to the end and take out this one thing called a Fermi Fortress, and this can be a pain because there are missiles and a laser that'll just kill your primal armor. The solution is to be the biggest weeb in existence and just dual blades it, but the hard mode drove me insane. After you defeat the first fortress, 3 more show up, and it's still too dark to see them. Since all 3 of them are next to each other, as soon as you fight one, the other 2 are shooting you with a beam and you'll die instantly. Normally, you just snipe them, but you can't see. I tried this mission at least 20 times and decided I would come back to it later, and when I came back to it later in Chapter 5, I had my secret weapons, the double Moonlight Greatswords. If you do the Hemi Slam with both of them equipped, each fortress goes down in a single slam. Sure, you have to dodge to be okay, but you stand a fighting chance, because you can just get one and then immediately go to the other. And after I beat that mission, I was so insanely relieved, but in utter shock at just how stupid these swords were, and you can bet your butt I was going to abuse them for the rest of the game. Now let's talk about Operation Ascend. Remember that mission we fell down the sky through the long pipe? Well, now we're going to go up that pipe and destroying fans on the way up. But guess what? 3 goddamn fortresses show up. That's right, 3 of them. Again! And my patience for them is all but gone. Luckily at this point, we have Moonlight. Sure, I'll take a bajillion damage and I might have to reset a couple times, but in the end, if I take him down, I take him down. There's one more hard mode mission that's left to talk about, but considering it's what I consider to be my final boss, let's get to the fake but real final boss. So Chapter 6. The operator asks for me and her to take time off and to leave the colony briefly. And then we hear the line,
"Did a leave of absence for him, and I accepted. I suppose we were naive."
And wow, I didn't imagine that someone would come and try to attack Antolia while we were away. No way! So there's only one mission in this chapter, and it's a one-on-one next fight. Antolia has been completely destroyed, and we're tasked with destroying who destroyed it. Joshua, the White Glint, but not in the White Glint, like mech. Our once former comrade and rival was ordered to destroy Antolia, and now we're out for revenge. And let me tell you, this guy zooms. As Max would put it, it is comically fast. If he does either of his side dashes, that man is off your screen, your lock-on is gone, and he's in a different dimension. All things considered, however, it isn't terribly hard. But speaking of hard, on hard mode, this mission features another guest, Omer. Do I know who that is? No, they never told me. This next comes in as soon as you defeat Joshua, and honestly was way easier than Joshua. He didn't even get to finish his voice line. Now on to what I consider to be the true final boss for me. Mission Line of Defense. On normal, this mission's a joke. We're not going to even talk about it. But on hard, you have to defeat enemies and then a next will show up as well as a Fermi Fortress. This mission is what I dreaded every single day when I woke up to try this mission again. That's right, this mission didn't just take one session, it took multiple sessions over multiple days. This mission on hard starts out okay, it's just to defeat a whole bunch of tanks, shoot up a little missile thing so you don't get rained on, and then reinforcements arrive, which is time-based. So some drones, and guess what? A frickin' fortress! Woo! And the second thing that shows up is the next number 9. You'd think this fortress would be the problem for me based off my past, but it wasn't. I wasn't able to kill this next once over the course of like 2 days of trying. Not once! I had to be really careful about what weapons I needed to bring to this fight because I needed grenades for mobs, double moonlight for the fortress, 2 higher laser cannons for the next, but you can only carry 4 things. But there's this thing called purge weapons. So what purge weapons do is it'll let you just destroy one of your arms and then have a hidden item there. So do you know what I had for my hidden items? Double Moonlight Greatswords. And he went down, down, town. And that was it. That was the end of Armored Core 4. Well, actually, there's like the second game called Armored Core 4 Answer, but apparently it's $130 when this one was $20. So Max is gonna bring that over to me, and we're gonna play through it eventually. But it's not a now. But I enjoyed this all. I'm really looking forward to Armored Core 6 coming out later this year. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I hope you had fun. Please subscribe.